Right.
Somebody else adult for me. Owen's little team won their basketball game. I just came straight over from there. It's like 7. She's it's ridiculous.
All right.
Like Owen can't actually shoot that kind of
Showtime.
I can't even hit the net, let alone the basket. But I mean, I think the total score is 18.
Good evening. Welcome to our February the 12th council meeting. I'm going to ask Reverend Mark Massey to do our invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Troop 59. Please stand with me.
Good evening. Let us look towards the Lord. Father God, we thank you once again, God, for this assembly. God, we pray your spirit will move in here tonight. God, we ask that you would bless our mayor and all of his cabinet. Continue to strengthen our city, our homes, and our schools. God, just have your way with us. And God, let us put you first in everything that we do. We ask that you will bless each and every one under the sound of my voice on tonight. And God, when it's all said and done, don't forget about those first responders, God, who watch over us, who protect us, God, who keep us safe. Now, Lord, have your way in this place on tonight, and we give you thanks, and we give you honor, and we give you praise. It is in Jesus' name that we say thank you, Lord, and we all say amen. Amen.
Please remain standing for the presentation of the colors. Color guard, advance. Color guard, post the colors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, members of Mount Holly, good evening. Tonight, I'd like to talk to you about one making a difference. Do you think you as one can make a difference? Do you think I as one can make a difference? Well, let me tell you, as one, you can make a difference. In 1645, one vote gave Oliver Cromwell control of England. In 1649, one vote caused Charles I of England to be executed. In 1845, one vote brought Texas into the Union. In 1868, one vote saved President Andrew Johnson from impeachment. In 1876, one vote gave Rutherford B. Hayes the presidency of the United States. In 1923, one vote gave Adolf Hitler the leadership of the Nazi Party. In 1776, one vote gave America the English language instead of German. Each of us have our own way that we can make a difference. Be that one to make the difference in this community. Thank you.
You may be seated. Thank you, Mr. Massey and Troop 59 for starting off our council meeting tonight. We're going to set the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I need a motion to approve the agenda. Ms. Shoemaker and Mr. Reeves, all in favor? It passes. Okay, the consent agenda, there are 12 items on the consent agenda. Any changes to that? Hearing none, I need a motion to approve that. Ms. Harris and Mr. Meadows, all in favor? Motion passes. This time we'll do presentations. I'll have the council meet me on the floor for the firefighters. Chief Baker's going to start us off on this.
Good evening, council, City of Mount Holly, family members that are gathered here. It's an honor to stand up here as the fire chief of this great city. I've seen it from 2000 when I started here to where we are now, and it's been an amazing growth. Over the past year, the firefighters that are going to be sworn in here tonight were direct calls from council support, and the fire department, and I know the citizens are greatly appreciative of that, and so that's what we're going to do tonight, and they're excited, and the family members are as well. So this time I'm going to introduce each firefighter. When I call your name, come up here, and then you will be sworn in. After that, your family members will come in after that to pin their badge on your shirt. First, I'm going to call Jared Willis to come forward. Jared started as a volunteer in 2020. He started his full-time career in 2021, and then roughly 6 months ago, he decided to come and join us here. The reason why he joined the fire service, I think this is kind of important. It's kind of neat to hear the stories behind why every person decided to take the calling that they did. He said the reason why he joined the fire service was to serve his community in a different capacity that he had ever had before, and wanted to turn it into a career. Josh Goforth, he is our long-distance traveler. He is actually from California. His wife and his dad will pin to him later. He had 6 years as a reserve firefighter with San Diego County Fire, and then served 4 years for the federal fire department in San Diego. The reason why he joined the fire service, he said, the reason why I joined the fire service is simple. I love that every day, every call is different. Each call and situation challenges and pushes me to better and do better. I try my best to make what is usually not an ideal circumstance and help turn someone's hard day into a better day. Kareem Burke, he will come forward. He will be pinned by his wife, Jessie Burke. He started in the fire service in 2014. And the reason why he joined the fire service, it says, I enjoy a fast-paced job that brings something different every day, and I like an opportunity to make a difference for someone who needs help on their worst day. Next, I'd like to call for Gaetano Leone. I always get that wrong, but so he is actually going to be pinned by his wife, and he started in the fire service July of 2000. He's originally from New York, and this is the reason why he joined. There are many reasons why I wanted to be a firefighter. I lived next to a firehouse growing up. I wandered there the second I could walk and was an active member as soon as I was of age. Firefighting runs in his family. One of his older cousins that he looked up to had responded to a fire with people trapped. Arriving on the scene first, he searched one of the fire apartments, located a victim, removed them from the building, and continued to help extinguish the fire. Later that night, he passed away from his injuries. And he said after that solidified his passion why he wanted to become a firefighter. Next, I'm going to call up Aiden Smith. His fiance will be pinning him, Alexandria. He started in the fire service in 2021. And he said the reason why he joined the fire service is because he felt it was the best way to serve his country by directly serving the community for which he grew up in. So the badges that these firefighters are going to get pinned on them tonight, they have a number on there. And that number signifies who they are in the Mount Holly Fire Department's history. So, and the badges are representative of the original badges that the fire department used back in 1914 when we were initially organized. So those numbers will follow them throughout their entire career. So maybe one day the number that they have will follow them up to a captain, to a deputy chief, or possibly even fire chief one day. So at this time, Mayor.
So it's always good to have some new members come into the family. So we're excited for you guys. So we're going to do your oath of office for the firefighter, and at the end, you all just say, "I will." Do you solemnly swear that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the state of North Carolina against all enemies, both foreign and domestic, and will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties as a firefighter of the city of Mount Holly under the appointment of the city of Mount Holly to the laws of North Carolina to the best of my skills and ability, so help me God. You can go ahead and pin me. All right, congratulations. Guys, want to do a bird photo? Let's come and see that. All right. Okay, we're going to continue with presentation, discussion, and review of bids for the Riverbend Water Tower. Mr. Blanton.
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much. Before you tonight, Council, we have a project that was discussed last year. We have Robbie Stewart here with us tonight, and we also have Chuck Willis from Willis Engineering. The council budgeted $3.8 million for the construction of a new water tower in the Riverbend District in this fiscal year. This was put out to bid in December, and those bids were submitted to the city, with the lowest bid being roughly $4.2 million. So this is more than what we had additionally budgeted for. It is roughly $726,000 more than what we would that had been budgeted for. So we've worked with our engineers, we've worked with finance to see the best way to go about pursuing this project. If the council is interested in continuing this project, we would continue as is, with the bid being awarded to the lowest bidder, and then continuing on to the next fiscal year with budgeting the remaining amount that we would need in order to move forward with the project. Ms. Stewart's here tonight if you would like to have any questions regarding the timeline that came about, and we also have Chuck Willis of Willis Engineering to answer any more technical questions that you guys may have. So Mr. Stewart's here this evening, and we'll certainly be glad to answer any questions that council has this evening.
Mr. Stewart, or Mr. You want to talk about the timeline?
Yes, yeah. So I have jotted down a timeline of events. Mr. Blanton just noted a couple of things, but February 2015, was when the city staff noticed the concern on our north end of town, and decided to move forward with hiring Willis Engineers to do some studies in the area and tell us what type of improvements we need to make, what we need to be ready for, basically. In the completion of that, he noted that we needed some pump upgrades at our water treatment plant, and said we needed to basically build a water tank to help serve that north end area. In September 2019, the Riverbend tank design was completed, and the regulatory approvals were received. That first estimate was $2,490,000 to build that tank. In July 2021, hydrant flow testing observed low fire flows for that area, and the fire flows that were observed at that time did not meet Mount Holly's standards. So helped us to push forward to September 21. The second regulatory approvals were received, so we had to basically renew all our permits that we had previously gotten, and that current estimate at that time had jumped up to $3,270,000 for the tank. In October of 22, additional hydrant testings were done, and they were observed that the fire flows had dropped even more, just basically because of the growth in that area with the new neighborhoods coming on and so forth. July of 23, in the CIP budget for utilities, $3.8 million was put into the budget to construct that water tower. And in October of 23, the third set of regulatory approvals were received, redoing the permits once again, and the total construction estimate was $3.9 million. So in December 23 is when we had a bid opening, and our lowest bidder was Pittsburgh Tank and Tower with a bid of $4,250,000. So, and then leaving that deficit that Mr. Blanton talked about.
Any questions for Mr. Stewart, council? I will make one comment. I think the price is about steel, the cost of steel.
Certainly is.
Just continually, every month it's different. Mr. Willis, anything that you would like to add, sir?
Unfortunately, the price escalation is not inconsistent with the whole construction industry, particularly in utilities. And so those ever increasing numbers are pretty consistent for all utility projects. It's not, most of it is steel, but the entire labor market is tight, and construction costs just continue to climb.
Any questions for Mr. Willis, council? Ms. Shoemaker?
Yeah, I was just wondering, like moving forward, if we approve the bid, like what are we looking at the timeline? So if we've got reduced flow in our hydrants, like what is and we've got like a development coming online up there, like what are we looking at timeline-wise for having this actually implemented? And
unfortunately, the tank construction industry is pretty slow. What happens when you award a contract for an elevated tank like this is you basically get in line and wait for your tank steel to get rolled and delivered to the job site. So it'd probably be close to a year before construction actually began, and could be 6 months to 9 months before it's actually completed after that. So a year and a half is not an unreasonable estimate to actually have the tank in service from now.
So 18 to 24 months from now,
24 months from now
okay.
to get it done. So we try to get ahead of them, but it's.
Those are fire trucks too.
It takes a while. It's not as bad as fire trucks at least. They take 3 years. So.
Mr. Meadows?
So this actually is a question for staff more so. So how's the budget going to work? Obviously, we have a certain amount budgeted. It's over. Is that going to? It's in the new budget, but is that money on hand? Is that going to be part of the new budget within the budget? I'm kind of curious how that might impact.
Sure. Yes, Councilman Meadows, we have $3.8 million that was originally budgeted for this project, so that would be for fiscal year 24. Naturally, we're not going to expend $3.8 million from now until the end of the fiscal year. So any money that's left over in that capital outlay project would roll into the next fiscal year, that being fiscal year 25, and we would budget for that contingency, that deficit, the remainder, in order to proceed forward, and likely going into fiscal year 26, because like Mr. Mr. Willis and Mr. Stewart referenced, this is going to take likely the next 2 years. So we're going to be going across multiple fiscal years in order to budget for this project.
So do you have an idea what the source of that will actually be?
This will come out of enterprise fund. It will come out of fund balance for enterprise fund moving forward into the next fiscal year. Enterprise utility fund capital outlay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, gentlemen. All right, we're going to do public comment now, and we have two.
Are we gonna?
If council wishes to take action tonight, we would
Yeah.
need a
Okay.
motion
I
to
thought it was
award
for
that
just
contract.
discussion.
Yeah.
All right, I need a motion to award that.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to award.
Ms. Shoemaker and Ms. Harris, all in favor? Motion passes. All right. Now we'll do public comment, and we have two persons signed up, Ms. Julia Benfield, and if you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Julia Benfield, and my address is 204 Deerfield Drive. I'm here with the Mount Holly Community Development Foundation, and I wanted to introduce Brian Cirilli, one of our members.
Need my address too. So I'm 217 Stoke Creek Lane.
Thank you.
So like Julia said, my name is Brian Cirilli, and I'm on the board with the Mount Holly Community Development Foundation. And recently we had some discussions, and that we want to essentially recommit to more visibility and accessibility to the city and the council, and to essentially show our support and continued strong participation with y'all. So some of the events that we do have coming up in the near future, on April 27th, we have our 5K, 10K Mount Holly run. That's going to be right out here. The starting point is going to be right out here in front of City Hall. June 8th is our business and art crawl, and we're going to be having numerous Frogs events. That's Friends of the Greenway. We are making commitment this year to kind of revitalize and re-energize that committee, because that had a lot to do with with the way Mount Holly is right now, and it kind of died off a little bit. So we're making a commitment to bring that back. So we do look forward to, and it's our intent to have a better relationship and have somebody here at each council meeting moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gary Brinkley?
Good evening, I'm Gary Brinkley. I live at 176 Tom Sawyer Lane, and I'm not here with any group. I'm just here on behalf of myself. We've already talked about a little bit this tonight. It's getting to be budget season. I guess it's always budget season, and consequently will be tax rate time. So I want to talk about property taxes. They are too high. I fully understand that the county commissioners play a role in this, so I know it's not all the responsibility is here, so I understand that, and I get that. And I'll go about contacting them as well. I did some calculations this afternoon, and my own personal property taxes went up 33%. Now, there are people out here in the audience, theirs probably went up even more. This is not a race anybody wants to be in. You want to be, how low did yours get? So we all know that. I mean, I see people shaking their heads. All of you are taxpayers as well, and you feel the pain. Now, in preparation for tonight, I tried to do a little bit of research. And what I'd say is there's not a lot of information available. We need to make more information available. We've got a beautiful tool called the internet and all kinds of analytical tools to present information. It's not there. You can get some historical stuff a little bit, but not much. I'd like to be able to do more research on my own without having to call one of my friends up here on the council saying, can you find this out for me? I went back into some old minutes that I had, and the oldest I could find was 2010, 2011. The budget that year was $16.1 million. The budget for this year, $43.444. That's a 170% increase. That's a lot of money increase over those 13 years before I even moved here. And so, I mean, I'd like to know, what is that? What covers that increase? Some of it, I'm sure, is inflation. There may be some capital items influencing in there that you can't discern. But I'd like to know, how did we grow 170% over 13 years? So really part of my message tonight is to say, you know, just like at home, we need to focus on our needs, not our wants. We all have wants, we all have things. You want a new TV, you want a new car, you want things, the city wants new things. You know, we need to do stuff we need, not things that we want to have. And then some of this research brought me around to a little thing called the general fund. I don't know what's in the general fund now. I do remember a number quoted some months ago, $8 million. It may be more than that now. That represents money that's been previously budgeted, not spent, left over, and available for use. Maybe some of that money ought to be applied to lower our tax rates. I understand it would be a one-time thing, but I'll take one time over no time.
Mr. Brinkley, your
Okay.
time's up.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to new business, the discussion of the 2024 meeting schedule. Mr. Blanton?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. In reviewing the calendar for the council meeting schedule for the rest of the year, we noticed two things that we did not address last month. The first being that typically in February, we forego the city council work session in lieu of the council retreat. As you all know, we set that retreat for Friday, March the 1st. So the first item that I want to bring to the council's attention tonight is whether you would like to forego that February 26th work session in lieu of the March 1st meeting. Of course, that will be the Friday after when the regular work meeting was scheduled. So that was the first item that I wanted to bring to council's attention tonight, if you're comfortable with foregoing the 26th meeting in lieu of the March 1st meeting.
Comments, Ms. Shoemaker?
I would just wonder if the agenda calls for it. I mean, if there's material to discuss, I don't want to delay the city's business. I mean, I personally don't mind meeting twice that week if.
Sure.
We can skip it. I'm not really for it against it. I'm just sort of wondering like how heavy the work session agenda looks. If we
And
know it that far out.
Sure, and typically we'd begin over the next few days compiling the agenda for the February 26th meeting. So if council would like to meet on the 26th, we certainly can make sure that we are available and that we just add that March 1st date as being a special meeting for the budget work session. Or
Other
the retreat,
comments?
rather.
Other comments? Mr. Meadows?
Traditionally, we've replaced it, you know, the 8 to 9 hours on Friday for the hour and a half, 2 hours on Monday. I think we ought to stick with that tradition personally, but.
Other thoughts?
It's fine with me.
Either way, just don't do the 26th.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. So we have a consensus.
I like
Do
your
we need to
point.
vote on that?
Well, the second item that I wanted to bring to the council's attention is the May 27th meeting. That falls on Memorial Day. So we did not catch that last go-around, so we would need to discuss arrangements to be made for the work session for the May meeting. It's a bit different in May. We've discussed some different options. The work session in April, the difference between the work session in April and the regular meeting in May is actually 3 weeks. We could look at adjusting both meetings to being the first and the third Monday in May to account for that holiday, or we can move the 27th meeting to a different date and time that works well for you all. So certainly any input, suggestions, or ideas that you all have for that, we would certainly welcome as we look to amend the meeting schedule.
Mr. Meadows?
I think keeping a rhythm, even though it's a little bit different, is the better way to go. That first and third for those couple of months to avoid those holidays. I think leap year's getting us throwing the days off a little bit, so a little different. The only other comment that I would make on that is we do have some other committees that meet on set months, so you might have to adjust one of the other committee meetings because we can't have two meetings in the same room at the same time. Or you need to move the one to the other training room, whichever. But doesn't staff normally attend planning commission and?
We also have, that Monday, I think there's something going on in Spring Fest. So I'm not sure what's going on that day, but I think Spring Fest is actually on the, is it the
It's on
fourth?
the 4th. yes.
Fourth?
The 29th, I think, is the golf tournament
Okay, that Monday.
of April.
Ms. Shoemaker?
I agree with Councilman Meadows. Like, I prefer that we keep our council meeting on like the second Monday, just because that's what we tell people, it's on the second Monday.
Right.
So I would say, honestly, I think the work session is much more fluid. Obviously, we cancel it sometimes, you know, if there's not a lot of work going on. I would say just move it to any day that works. I mean, the 20th, another day that week, like whatever works for staff as we get closer. I mean, I personally don't mind. But I would prefer that we keep the council meeting in that same rhythm.
Right.
Well, the biggest thing with that month is budget. We're in the middle
Yeah,
of
we
budget
have to have the
season,
meeting,
so.
yeah.
Mr. Meadows?
I just want to be clear, I was actually for the first and the third,
Oh.
kind of adjusting the rhythm
Right.
to first, third for those 2 months rather than the meeting moving around. We're normally the second and the fourth, so I think going the first and third. And I think what City Manager Blanton was pointing out is that we get into an odd, kind of long break between if we don't adjust. And we don't normally go almost 4 weeks without meeting. If we adjust, we are going to have more of a rhythm that we typically have, I believe.
Other thoughts?
I'm with the Shoemaker. I think we stick with what we, the second one, it had been moved the last one. I mean,
Well, if there's something that comes up with planning and zoning, I mean, that meeting would be the same night, basically, was it?
Yeah, planning and
Would it be
zoning's on the
first Monday?
6th. It would be the first Monday.
Yeah.
So we'd be moving them, which, I mean, honestly, I'd rather just keep the 13th, and then if you need to do something to move the 27th to the 20th, or move it to later that week, it doesn't have to be a Monday. I mean, I
Right,
think we have
sure.
enough advance notice that we can.
Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Meadows?
If you move it off a Monday, I'm not likely going to be here because I have, 20, 16-year-olds that expect me to be someplace 3 nights a week. So, and I don't think we're going to meet on Friday.
We can prepare for May 20th. if that's-
Okay, so we want to go for May the 20th? Would that work for council?
But we'd already changed it.
and that's for the,
So we can do, so the 6th and the 20th. 6th
Are we doing the 6th?
6th would be regular.
The 6th is the planning commission.
Right, it
That's the
is.
planning commission.
So the 13th.
Yeah.
13th is our.
Yep.
So we're gonna do the 13th and 20th? Is that what I'm hearing?
We can certainly do that.
Does that work for everyone, 13th and the 20th?
Yeah.
I'm listening to y'all.
It's fine with me.
I'll
It's
be
fine with me.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, but
I mean, if you can't do the first and you can't do the last, it sounds like we're gonna
Right.
do 2 and 3, so.
Okay. All right, Mr. Blanton, what else?
Sure. Those are the only two matters I had regarding the calendar. So just a motion to amend the city council meeting schedule to eliminate the February 26th meeting in lieu of the March 1st meeting, and to change the March 27th meeting, which is a work session, to to the May 27th budget meeting to the May 20th, for that work session.
All right. Everybody good with that? Mr. Craig?
I would say I'm good with that.
Okay. We need to make a motion on that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you want to make a motion, Mr. Craig?
Yes, sir.
Second, Mr. Reeves, all in favor? Motion passes. Okay. All right, consideration of relocation options for the South Gateway welcome sign. Mr. Bill.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Just looking for some feedback and direction. I want to go back through the 100-year history of this sign. I'm just kidding. So, this sign was for decades. I don't know the exact date. It had a plaque, but that's what it looked like in December 2016. And this is what it looks like. Not today. It's a mud pit around it. But there's a lot of activity, and I think as we talk about the need to relocate the sign, this was a development move. It wasn't on the plans. The plans took many months to work through. There were a lot of issues with impervious surface and connectivity and sidewalks. We got the plans approved in June, and then months later, the developer came to us and said, we need to relocate the sign. Basically said, we need to have the city relocate the sign because of the new driveway. So we estimated $15,000 to $20,000 for relocation of the sign. We're working on some finite numbers with a consultant. But this area is seeing a lot of change. And so our recommendation is from staff is if we keep on moving this sign further down, we're already fighting that everyone thinks this is Belmont because it has a Belmont address. That's going to further perpetuate the idea that you're not in Mount Holly until way on down. I think looking back at the general area, because these poles will move, there'll be sidewalk here, there'll be a turn lane here. There's going to be a lot of stuff happen over the next 6 months to a year. This site is actually being redone. This wooded site will see a brand new Timesville, they call it their model store, and it's going to have a lot of brick. So this site's going to change a lot too. But staff is looking at future partnerships with Belmont Abbey, who owns that land. But you see, this is the Tyler Herndon Highway sign, but you get in here and you start getting a lot of these standard DOT signs. So point being, I think we could take this as an opportunity, as this development takes shape, when the sidewalks come in, that we get a cost, we work up a legal agreement with Mr. Soleil. He puts that money in escrow for the cost of relocating the sign, and we just store the sign. If any part could be salvaged, most of it can. The sign facing probably can, but the actual stones and stuff, they'll have to be taken down. So, you know, that's probably the best approach in this scenario. We also have a lot of development on Caldwell Drive, so we've talked with developers about maybe even doing a welcome to Mount Holly, or welcome to the South Gateway, or welcome to the Gateway, because it's regionally a gateway, and doing a multi-tenant sign, kill two birds with one stone, and put home of Ortho Carolina, home of Carolina Neurosurgery, home of Carolina Orthopedic, home of Pendler at the banks, and to get more traffic oriented down that way. There's going to be a waterfront restaurant, we hope, within the next year. There's some good things happening with that. So if it's council's direction, we certainly would recommend that we work with the city attorney, Mr. Soleil, to capture a cost of the sign, have that money collected, put in escrow, and then wait till this shapes out over the next year before we take on a sign project. Because that sign's not going to be $20,000 when we relocate it. I mean, he's going to pay a base price, but a larger sign would be called for.
Any questions for Mr. Beal? All right, so I need a motion to formalize the agreement with Mr. Soleil for the relocation of the sign.
So moved.
Ms. Harris, and a second by Mr. Reeves. All in favor? Motion passes.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, I need a motion to go into closed session. Ms. Shoemaker and Mr. Reeves, all in favor? We are now in closed session.